Last time on 22nd, we talked about the important scriptures that we are recommended to read. And as you know, I reminded you that Prasthanastai, the three important books that we recommend for most people who are interested in understanding about Atman, and that is Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, and Bhagavad Gita. Then, of course, two Mahan big granthas, Mahabharata and Ramayana. And for those people who have understanding of some Marathi, I have recommended 4 additional texts: Jnaneshwari from Jnandev, Bhagavad from Eknath, Gatha from Sant Tukaram, and Das Both from Sant Ramdas. A total of 10 books that I had a privilege to read over and over again. But since we live in this 20th and 21st century, when we want to have a quick understanding of the topic, we are in a hurry. Instant coffee, that's what we want. If the relatively short quickest way of getting just about everything is learning the full meaning of Bhagavad Gita. And I commented last time, it's good to have somebody discuss verse by verse so that at the end you understand all 700 verses. Because the only way to understand the verse fully is to know 700 verses completely. And Professor Prasanna Kumar rightly commented, no, even a person who is not trained can certainly get a benefit by reading 1 or 2 verses and here and there. I agree with him fully that the benefit from these Gita verses, regardless whether you have a guidance or not, from appropriate books, is certainly beneficial for the individuals. But in order to understand and extract the full meaning, getting the complete nectar out of these verses, is good to have a guidance of a person who is enlightened to the traditional enlightened teachers. Another thing, what happens, sometimes there is a tendency for individuals who are bright enough to read those books, and sometimes those books are involved with cult system, like some, I won't mention the groups, but they emphasize certain things which takes you in the wrong direction. And sometimes the verses in Gita are educational nonetheless. Sometimes the devotee might have a sense that he has understood everything. And that creates a false sense of security and can take you in the wrong direction in inappropriate action. So that's why it's important to have a guidance of a person who has gone through a proper training. What we've been studying since last time is Bhagavad Gita Mala Mantra. That means it's a celestial necklace created from meaningful verses, each representing a fragrant flower, unfurling the eternal truth about Brahman. Gita is so unique that is Brahma Vidya and a perfect methodology. Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishnarjuna Samvade. So that's why it is the most important grantha from Prasthantraya. And goes through all these 700 verses, is a thread of divinity all the way through. Sutre Manikana, the thread of divinity goes through each and every verse. And what Lord Sri Krishna, Bhagwan Sri Krishna, is enlightening us, divine incarnation of Lord Vishnu, when we learn from the verses of Gita. And towards the end, if somebody is interested, I can go in details as to what the various qualities of Bhagwan are. But since I'm just reviewing the last session, I do not want to spend time on that. We sang a few verses from Gita Dhyanam. The first verse was basically mentioning as to where exactly is Gita located in Bhishma Parva. Then we talked about the greatness of sage Vyas, who is credited with writing all the Vedas, Puranas, Brahma Sutras, and of course Mahabharata. Then we talked about Shri Krishna has taught us as to what Jnana Mudra is. And if you look at my hand, here the thumb representing the Paramatma, index representing the Atma, and the three other fingers representing body, mind, and intellect, understanding Tat Twamasi, and body, mind, intellect do not participate in the creation of Brahman or Atman. And then the next verse we studied where Gita itself is compared to extraction of all the nectar from all the Upanishads. And all these Upanishads are considered as equivalent to one cow. And Lord Krishna is the one who has milked all these cows. And the calf here is poetically described as Arjuna. And we are the lucky people who are able to participate in that Amrut that has come from all the Upanishads. And the beauty of it is Shri Krishna could have answered the question to Arjuna quickly by just looking at him with love and affection. But instead, he went on to describe through 700 verses for the benefit of all of us. And then we talked about the one who is teaching us is Bhagwan Shri Krishna, who's really who has done magnificent work since his early age. I'll take one more verse from this Gita Dhyanam to emphasize one point which I did not emphasize last time. Last time we mentioned about Mukam Kaloti Vachal, I'm talking about Kalidasa. But the last verse is Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunvanti Daivai Stavai Evedai Sanga Padakramo Panashadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyana Vastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam Navidu Sarasuragana Devaya Tasmai Namah. Now he says that in this particular mantra, this entity is prayed to by Brahma, the creator, Varuna, Rudra, Indra, Marut, all the deities described in Vedas. The people enlightened Brahmins who sing nothing but Sama Veda with a beautiful voice, those who understand the Upanishads and other things that Veda have described, they're always concentrating and praying on that entity. Even the Sura and Asura, Deva and Danav, are not able to get this. Now, something that I want to emphasize now is that even when you go to heaven, after discarding this mortal body, because of your good deeds that you have done, maybe end up getting a vacancy in Swarga that time. But that place is not the place where you can get the knowledge that we're discussing today. Because in heaven, you don't have a choice that human beings. So, Punya, Kshine Punya, Martyalokam Vishanti. Only when we come to Martyaloka, as human beings have a special gift of making choices to do or not to do. That's our options. And that's why the gods and asuras are unable to achieve the understanding what it is. And Devaya Tasmai Namaha, Deva is not deity in this case. Dev is basically Swayam Prakash, the awareness, the consciousness. That is exactly what we are bowing down to. So what we have to understand is not one deity, but our Paramatma that we are seeking, recognizing the exact identity of our own Atman, is nothing but awareness, the consciousness, the light, the wisdom. So that is the last verse of Gita Dhyana. Now we commented last time about what is Krishna that was teaching here. Krishna comes from two different words. Krish, Meenal, you were not there last time, that's why I'm emphasizing this. Krish is one who represents power of Bhagwan, Sattavachak. And Na is representative of Anandavachak, that is one which gives unlimited amount of joy and happiness. So Lord Krishna, who represents both these divinity, depicted in form of power as well as love and happiness, giving joy and happiness for us. We talked about mantra. We broke them into two different Bhuvri Samas. Manana Trayate iti mantra. One that protects by reciting, understanding, assimilating. It also can be divided, broken down, Bhuvri Samas. Manushyanam Trayate iti mantra. One that protects the human beings. Who's the writer of this mantra? Veda Vyasa Rishi. As I mentioned to you, what he does. And what he did is something important to recognize. He collected all the data. He assimilated all the data and shared it for all of us. Because what is Rishi? Rishihi Darshanat. One who has had the vision of God is Rishi. One who's experienced God. Atmanishta, who's experienced Atma, grounded in Atma through the personal experience. That is Rishi. And that Rishi, because of experience, now experience that Atman through understanding of Brahma's experience. And what he describes is then described as Arshavidya. So what Vyasa has put together for us is collection of Rishi Vidya experiences, knowledge gain through the personal communion with the divinity in the deep state of meditation. Then we talked about what is the chanda, what is the meter? Anushtup chandaha. Anushtup means, anu means by following this particular meter, by listening to this meter, the mind becomes stuba. That is, mind becomes quiet, mind becomes tranquil. So, sarva prapascha shivam upashamam shantam. So, anushtup is basically one makes our mind quiet, settles it down, taking away from noise and hectic attitude, tendencies we tend to suffer all through our daily life. So out of the 700 verses, if those we were trying to keep the exact number, 645 are Anushtup and 55 are Trishtup. Basically, Anushtup is 8 letters each, 832, and Trishtup is 11 letters each, that is 44. And then we studied the last verse that we said last time, that we started with Ashocha Nanmashochatsvam Pratnyavadanscha Bhashase. So we studied what is the bijam, what is the root cause of Gita, the main purpose for creation to thoroughly answer the question posed by Arjuna's narrative and concerns. And basically what he did was, he right after says, Tvam anvashocha, ashochan. You grieve for those who you should not grieve for. That means you grieve for those, tvam anvashocha, who you should not ashocha. But still he praises him, yet you speak words of wisdom. What is interesting is, when you are as a teacher, you have to treat the student with respect to recognize how much he knows itself. And he says, no, you shouldn't be doing the lamenting for something inappropriate, but I recognize you're making a lot of sense. You speak words of wisdom. But then he says, the wise with knowledge of Atman, Pandita, do not grieve. Nanu shochanti Pandita, gatasuna gataushucha. That means those whose breath has gone, gatasuna, and agatasuna, breath is yet to go. Pandita, do not grieve for people who are no longer there or still breathing and not gone yet. And Pandita is not a general term that is used these days colloquially. Pandit is a specific meaning. Adi Shankaraji described as Atma Vishya Buddhi Yesham Tehi Panditaha in Bhrutaranya Upanishad 351, where the description is given. The Panda is the one, Atma Vishya Buddhi Yesham, was a knowledge of Brahman. Now again, this question that he's answering, Bij, is just the beginning, where to describe the whole Gita, basically we talk about Shadlingas. That means 6 different aspects of it. Upakramo upasamvaro, abhyaso purvatafalam, arthavado papatti, chalingam tatparya nirnaya. So these are 6 different aspects of any presentation. I'll repeat it again. Those are upakrama, the reason beginning, abhyas, what is covered, apurvata, that means what is unusual, special thing about it, something special about it, unusual. Phala, arthavad, what is the purpose of doing it, and upasamvar. So these are various ways in which the perfectly written presentation is done. But again, when he said the sentence of Ashotyanand Shochatswam Pradnyavadansha Bhashashe Gatasuna Gatasucha Nanushochanti Pandita, it did start at 211, but that commentary started about 2:7. He says, Karpanya dosho pata sabhava pruchami tvam dharma sambhuda chetaha yachreyasyan nishitam bruitan me shishyasteham shadimam prapannam. That's a poetic form. I'll divide into prose. Karpanya dosho pata swabhava dharma sambhuda chetaha tvam pruchami. My mind is overcome and confused because I'm overfilled with karuna, karpanya dosha. So my mind is wiped out because I'm overcome with compassion. That's why I'm asking. Tvam pruchami. Yah nishchitam shreya syat tatve bruhi. Aham te shishya. I accept your discipleship. What is shreyas for me, what is good for me in the long term, please teach me. I am your student, tvam prapannam mam shadi. Please educate me for this young man who has come down on his knees and asking you to teach. So that is how the opening started, as to how he started answering the questions to Arjuna. Now, if you see that as a beginning, you can jump to the Upasamhar to start with. So in between, as you can see, Abhyas is basically, he talked through the next few chapters, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Atma Sanyam Yoga, Jnana Yoga, in between meditation, Abhyas Yoga. He covered all those things, described the details about karma, vikarma, akarma, as Prasanna has beautifully described for us in the past. He talked about 39 qualities of a bhakta, about 18 qualities of person sthita prajna, knowledge, got in great detail in the sixth chapter of Raja Yoga, described the qualities of a one who is gunatita, and of course the qualities of person who's enlightened. So basically, the entire study of Atmajnana has been covered through the in-between portion from 2nd through 17th verses. The third part I mentioned, the first time we covered about Upakrama, the beginning. Abhyas is basically, we talked about, he has covered. What is Apurvata? What is the special thing about Gita that we are studying? The thing is, when you're a little boy and you come and hug your dad, you need the help, the dad holds on to you to his bosom, more commonly mother than father. And then the child is comfortable, doesn't require anything more. But what is great about it, what is apurvata about it, instead of giving him a hug, looking at him with great deal of love and sympathy, and taking care of his karpanya dosha, he went on to describe 700 verses to unfold the entire knowledge of Brahmajnana and methodology, Karma Yoga, Yoga Shastra. That is the Apurvata. So purpose was not only to educate Arjuna, but also create a large compendium of knowledge which is available for many generations to come. So that is the Apurvata as far as the Gita is concerned. And then we'll continue on to follow and Arthavad towards the end later on. So this is what exactly I wanted to emphasize about the beginning of the Gita is concerned. And today we'll discuss about what is the Shakti, what is the real strength of Gita. Manmana bhavamat bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskuru, mame vaishyashi satyam te, pratijane priyosi me, sarvadharman parityajya, mamekam sharanam vraja, iti shakti. So 65th and 66th verses of the 18th chapter are the final verses of Lord Sri Krishna's teaching, which represent the real strength of this garland of Gita verses, which is, as we noted earlier, 11th verse of the 2nd chapter. So the question was, please explain to me what is the best for me, Shreyas. And basically, he gives the power in the form of this particular verse again. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. But again, methodology is manmana bhavamat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Here the word manmana means the one who has Parmeshwara as the object of his mind. Manmana is Sri Krishna is describing as object as Parmeshwara. The mind is offered to Ishvara. mind is offered to Parama Ishwara. Now, what is Ishwara? Ish means owner, ruler, or the chief. And Vara is the best, excellent, and beautiful. Those who are men in this group, don't get it to your head. But that's exactly what the exact meaning of Vara is. Ish means owner, ruler, and chief. And Vara is who is best, beautiful, and excellent. So Ishwara is the one who is the best, most beautiful, and powerful ruler, the Ishwara. So basically, he's offering as manmana, become one with that Ishwara, and become mad bhakta. With such an offering, he becomes totally devoted to Ishwara and is committed only to Ishwara, nobody else. So total Shraddha and Bhakti become Mad Bhakta. And whatever he does for the sake of Ishwara. All the rituals and yajnas, all karmas are only for me who is Ishwara. Madhyajima namaskuru. Mam eva namaskuru. You salute only to me. And Shankara says, Mam eva eshyasi. In that case, you will reach me alone. And I promise you, Satyam te pratijane. In this case, what happens is the sadhya, the situation of the end, the means, the sadhana, and what is offered are Ishwar alone. So receiver as well offered to becomes exactly the same. Again, it is said, Swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. 18th chapter, 46 verse. Say the same thing. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. A human being who performs his duties with an attitude of worship to Ishvara gains success. When one does something just because situation demands it as his duty, then he's acting according to dharma. Conformity to dharma is exactly what is meant by worshipping. But when you're pursuing it, any service you do that in the service of the spirit, service to God. So my students were asking me, listeners around me asking, Dr. Sane, when do you pray? So I had to explain to them, with you, as we are taking care of this patient, I'm praying as well, because this is the prayer itself. So if you're able to accept any kind of work you're performing as your duty, appropriate work, it is done in the Spirit of God, that is worshipping. And basically, Tam is Ishwaram in this particular case. And then towards the end, after 65th verse, the other part of Shakti is Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja Iti Shakti. What is strength, Shakti? Does Bhagavad Gita bring to the devotees? What is the most powerful wisdom imparted in the song of Bhagavan? Utmost faith and total devotion to God, and in this case, Lord Sri Krishna, for one needs absolute Shraddha and Bhakti. As we described before, Shraddha means absolute confidence, utmost sincerity to pursue God, intense longing to reach that goal, positive outlook towards the life, and personal pursuit without any slightest negative thought whatsoever. That should be like little boy Dhruva, who became subsequently Dhruva Tara, sage Dhruva, must continue our sincere efforts with utmost devotion, bhakti, till such time that the goal is reached And then in that case, you will reach the goal. What once appeared impossible or incredible was indeed accomplished by a totally dedicated devotee who was capable to learn what we are seeking to accomplish. And what we learn, what we are looking for, was already with us. But you need somebody else who's an enlightened person to tell you already have it. Only thing you need jnana, nahi jnana sadrusham pavitram yavadip. You need an enlightened teacher to remind you, teach you, counsel you, direct you, inspire you to identify that divinity is within yourself. But for that, you need a person who is Atmanishta. That means who is already experienced the Atman, Brahmadnya, Brahmanishta, so who has experienced it himself. Now, talking about bhakti, you can go through various verses from the very beginning. Bahunam janmamanante jnanaman mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim prakriti mashrita bhajanti nanya manaso nyatma bhutadima 9:13. 9:14 Satatam kirtayanto mam yatadascha gutavata namasyantak shamam bhatya nitya yukta apasade. I could continue on that 9th chapter, and for that matter, the entire 12th chapter is nothing but the bhakti yoga. I'll stop at this time because we have covered quite a bit of coverage at that time. We covered the cause and what I mentioned to you as what is Shakti. Only part which I have not concluded is what is the refuse that he's talking about, and that is Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Shuchaha Iti Kilakam. 66 verse. Kilak means a place where an individual can find safety. It's a safe harbor, refuge, adhishtanam, a place where the individual can find both comfort and safety. Remember the rest stations on the highways? That is refuge, a place where an individual can find both comfort and safety. And he says, do not grieve, ma shuchaha, giving up all karmas, take refuge in me alone, I'll release you from all karma. Do not grieve. This is considered to be the last verse of teaching of Gita. You are grieving over what that does not deserve to be grieved, and ends up with Shikar saying, do not grieve, ma shucha, in 1866. So basically, that is how the beginning, the front end, and the towards the end conclusion of the Gita. I'll stop at this stage and open up for questions, comments.
Very nicely explained. It's very difficult to summarize the entire Gita, but you've done a very, very good job. In studying the Gita, one is normally attracted to Bhakti Yoga, chapter 12, because it bypasses all the earlier chapters of having to know, experience God. But if you look at Bhakti Yoga very carefully, it is a Gnani who is a Bhakta. So when you look at Bhakti Yoga very carefully, you have to be a Gnani to really understand Bhakti Yoga. So one should not make the assumption it is okay to bypass Gnana Yoga, Gnana Vijnana Yoga, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhya Yoga, and then only go to Bhakti. Eventually, if you follow Bhakti Yoga very carefully, you will become a Gnani. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But aside from that, there are two other chapters in the Gita which people should not bypass. That is Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga and Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. Because both of them directly points to you, to the individual, where he is in the spectrum of life. So you can calibrate yourself. Where am I? By looking at the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga. He does not mince words, he's very direct in addressing those issues. I find those two chapters very fascinating. I always keep on going back and rereading them. I had prepared a chart when I spoke about it a few years ago at the temple. I'd prepared a chart, a self-calibration chart, based on your guna, based on your daiva aspect, asuri aspect, etc. So in this sense, if you want to understand the Gita entirely, now I get it, you have to know the whole thing. Not enough to know just one verse. But Swami Chinmayananda told me when he was here, visiting many, many years ago, he autographed on his book, pick up any verse in the Gita and concentrate with bhakti, study it and examine it. And you look at the verse before it, look at the verse after it, then you get a reasonably good picture of what you are seeking. That's the reason why I said you can pick up any verse and get the benefit out of it. I still believe in that. But to get the benefit of the whole Gita, I think you need to know the whole thing. So that's all the comment I want to make. I hope you have some opportunity to discuss the two chapters, 10th and 11th. Shraddhata Vibhaga is also very good. They all goes on the gunas. And so some commentary on the gunas and their implications in our own life would be an interesting point for you to discuss. That's about all I have to say.
No, that's good. I think a couple of comments on that. Thanks for those kind comments and making important teaching lessons for us. With all that, even though you may calibrate where you stand, we still have to keep on working on it. Like we do continuous CMEs that we do, you have to continue working on it to maintain that particular level of improvement. And number two is, as you initial comment that you made, Jnani is basically Bhakta. Chaturvidha bhajante mam. So four kind of people worship me. Artha, Artharthi, Jidnyasu, and Jnani. So those who are screaming for help, come to the temple because something is really bad happening, or when your student, the exam is coming up. Those Artharthi, that means bartering with God. Let me have Pushta Kameshti Yajna. Let me have Satyanarayana Puja, like promotion. Bartering with God. Then Jidnyasu, a little later on you realize, well, I've got a lot of so many things in life. Is that all there is? There is a desire for you to understand a little bit more. But the key thing that you're commenting appropriately is that even when you gain the knowledge, they're still doing the prayers, jnani. So it's very important to remember, it doesn't end when you finish it. Even if you get your MD, you still have to keep on continuing your education, getting remaining jnani to make sure that you're up to date, because you're changing as well. Times are changing, situation is changing, but you have to maintain the same values and continue. Thanks, Prasanna, I appreciate it. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, you made the comment that Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Ishyami Ma Shushaha. An interesting question comes around. Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja. I am Atman. I am Sachidananda. Who is surrendering to whom? And what is the meaning of Sharanagati? Has always perplexed me. And so I have taken the attitude that I am not Sachidananda. I need to surrender. When I say surrender, surrender my ego. That's what it really means. Surrender your me, mine, I, aham, mama. Then you can surrender. That's what you surrender. So that I don't have that egotistical feeling. But if I'm already a gnani, the question is who is surrendering to whom?
Well, obviously he's answering to Arjuna's question. So he's describing Mamekam Sharanam Bhaja. At the same time, even when you are enlightened, you still come and touch the feet of the people who are enlightened. So when they go from one ashram to another, they continue the same tradition. And going back to Pandharpur, I hope Madhavi is still there, who has been there on her feet, walking there. In the old times, Santas got together in the evening, and when they came, touch each other's feet, even they were enlightened. And there's a story about Namdev, if you remember, where one day he did not touch the feet.
Yeah.
And the old man, who happened to be one who pot maker, being the eldest, checked out his head, saying the pot is not quite ready, and had to go to a particular temple, Shiva temple, Vishwabha, where he had to learn from that guy. Because he walked into the place and found this old one who was unshaven, uncouth guy lying down the floor with the feet on Shivalingam. And he said, again, ego is still there. This guy is going to teach me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, why do you recognize you're putting the feet of Shivalinga? And of course, he said, yeah, I'm getting old. Can you do me a favor? Can you put the feet away and put the Shivalinga is not there? And as everybody in the group knows the story, he lifted the feet and put it in some other place, and Shivalinga came up, rose underneath it to recognize Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. The divinity is all over the universe, and you have to recognize it as a jnani. So you're right.
Yeah.
Even if it's something you teach touch feet. So
I had this question. At one point, you were reviewing the teaching, become one with Ishvara. Everything you do is for him. Perform your duties that way.
Yeah.
And the question for me arises about duties, because duties come from many sources. And what do you do if the duties that you are given because of your place in society, let's say, are ones that your best understanding tells you are wrong? Yeah, so like the role with even the concept of what a duty is difficult for me.
Well, I think duty, very smart question. Duty is basically what is your role, and according to dharma, that what is the dharma calls for. So whatever your duty appropriate based upon your role and what is appropriate action to do, that's your duty. And when you conform to the law of dharma, you yourself are praying to the same God. Another comment I want to make before you can ask other question. I'm describing as Shri Krishna, but I do not want anyone to go away with the idea that only Shri Krishna is the only one I'm referring to. Divinity by any name is in the same place. Since we are discussing Gita here, referring to the student and teacher, I don't mean to imply at all there's only one God. You can call any name you want to call it. But in this case, it was Sri Krishna at that time. Again, coming back to your question, Johnny, as a role, what it is, whatever is appropriate by dharma, you have to carry it out. If you ask a specific question, I'll answer that. What you're referring to is as a role, you find that action as a role you're supposed to undertake is inappropriate. Is that what you're implying?
Well, I would, so here's an example. Suppose you are serving in the police force and you join the police force because you want to help stabilize society, protect people who are in danger and that kind of thing. and you find yourself in a situation where your commander tells you to take actions that are discriminatory against some race. Then what do you do?
In that case, according to even law in our country, which is still democratic, as I think, you were supposed to break it. Like My Lai massacre. For example, there was Kelly was informed that you have to disobey the commander if you think it's inappropriate and against the constitution of the country. So if you are not signed to the leader alone,
Okay.
you signed as a duty to the constitution, what is appropriate at that time. And you are willing to accept the consequences of your action that you undertake.
Yeah.
You can explain at the appropriate time and the place and to the authorities why you took that action. So that's the way I would approach it.
Okay. Okay. So the immediate societal, your immediate duties as defined by the immediate societal circumstances are not the definition of your duty.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Dada, just to continue the issue that Prasanna ji had brought up, that who is surrendering to whom, from most of the reading that I have done on the Gita, what I have understood is that the first 6 chapters, first of all, it is said to be actually an discussion on the Mahavakya Tattvam Asi. So the first 6 chapters are dedicated to Tvam, the middle 6 to Tat, and the last 6 to Asi, to show the oneness of Tat and Tvam. And then I had a question whether, let's say you reach the stage of Jnani, what happens then? Does the lower self just not exist? Which is, in a way, it's true that you identify with Brahman, but as long as the body remains, the mind intellect unit per se also remains. So that doesn't go anywhere. So that body mass index unit still continues, as you rightly said, the abhyasa or upasana continues till the end towards the consciousness. So that's my understanding of,
You're right.
Just, correct me if there is anything different.
What I'm going to say is that even if you understand that subject matter clearly, you still have to be self-vigilant. So you maintain the same sanctity, purity, and understanding, because it takes only one erroneous judgment at the wrong time can slip you off completely. So it is not. The thing is, remember, Madhavi, taller you get, bigger is your fall.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
That's why the daksha is there, no? Always you have to be daksha against
alert.
your own.
Absolutely. Exactly. Again, that's why the best way to do it is satsangatva nitsangatvam. If you maintain the company of good people with similar values, preferably enlightened, then with that, you tend to stay in the same group in a positive way. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you also decide as to what company you keep in your life.
I have one question, Dr. Sane.
Yes, well,
Okay. I was wondering here, you just touched on it, and you talked about once you leave your body and you go to heaven or swarga, as you say, you don't get any special knowledge there, etc. In a sense, you're in suspended animation or something like that is what I visualize, until you come back in human form into this mortal world, and then you can continue your knowledge. This is just, you just touched on it this time. You didn't get into any explanations.
Well, what I'm telling you is what I've read. So it's difficult to talk about a subject where you don't have a first-hand experience to tell, or something that you may have experienced in the past but can't recall. So what I'm describing is what the scriptures were written. So that is a transient faith. So this is something on the basis of faith. Knowledge, what I'm talking about, is based on experience. So understanding Atman and Brahman is experience, that by experience. But Swarga and Narak is description. So I cannot tell you that. But I can certainly tell what other people have described it. Again, Shri Krishna also talks about Shine Punya Martyalokam Vishanti. That means after you reach certain positive credits, you go to Swargalokam Vishalam. You're able to go to heaven. But as soon as your traveler's checks are over, your vacation money is gone, you come back to work again. Shine Punya Martyalokam Vishanti. So again, it's a transient phenomenon at best. But that's why when I was describing that prayer, even those people who are in heaven are unable to get that knowledge. Even people who in the heaven or hell are unable to get it, or Sura and Sura. But you have to come to human life, being blessed with the faculty to make decisions, to do or not to do, is the question offered to us. That's why the prayer about who basically does the prayers, Yam Brahma, in the 9th verse of the Gita Dhyanam. So they cannot get in the Devan Dano, Yasyanta na Vindu Sura Suragana. Sura Asuragana are not able to do it. So they continue to pray till they come back to a human existence. So we are lucky that way.
Thank you.
So I understand that I'm a mind, body, soul complex with the Isha Tattva as the soul. I mean, to be very simplistic. And due to the evolution, as I'm a social creator, one of the, maybe it has been tried multiple times over the billions years. So I have by birth, because I have to live in the society, so I have jealousy, hate, anger, greed, as well as compassion. All those feelings have come. So I can happily function without understanding that who am I, or all that, and a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So studying Gita, but then we are working under the control of these properties, whatever I can call it. But studying Gita explains to me that, okay, I become aware of these things.
Yeah.
And then I can understand, okay, basically I am the same soul, and this is what is happening to me. And based upon that, I can be in control. My, different part of me can be in control over these feelings. So I think that's what it does to me, right? So
absolutely.
So this is my little understanding. So
absolutely, you're right. You understand what your true nature is. So what you're doing here, Arun, is you're acting a particular role. So you're on a stage, particular role of a king or a beggar or actor or a dancer or a musician. So that is the role that we are playing. So the one who's playing a beggar during the drama recognizes that he may behave like a beggar on the stage, but nonetheless, in the reality, he is complete. You understand what I mean? So even if you are suffering through the mortal life, But if you're at peace within, you can find comfort. So not worry about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, let's sing then. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Thank you, guys.